What? What's up everyone, MeChipP2 here, and in today's video we're taking a look at Attack Deoxys with Zap Cannon. Now Zap Cannon is a hilarious move for Attack Deoxys because Attack Deoxys has the highest attack stat in Pokemon Go, and Zap Cannon is the second highest damage charge move in the entire game, behind Aeroblast. So, if you can get to it, it will one-shot almost anything, provided it's not double resisted. To round out the team, I paired it up with Pidgeot because the Feather Dance debuffs are very necessary for Attack Deoxys, and Steelix because Steelix is an absolute beast and I love it. Without further ado, let's get into the battles. So hopping into the first match, we lead Pidgeot into Cresselia. He's one of the best leads because we can debuff their attack and farm down with Attack Deoxys, but it just takes a while because we make it to 2 Feather Dances and a Brave Bird. And if we're lucky, the Cresselia actually will shield the Brave Bird, and that gives us a lot of farm down and a shield advantage. Moonblast there gets an attack drop, and that's actually good in this scenario, because the lessened damage will give Deoxys more farm. So, we're going to go for a second Feather Dance. Now we're going to no-shield that Moonblast, no attack debuff that time though. And now they throw again. I can let this go, it's still not going to take out my Pidgeot. They go for a Grass Knot, now I can go for a Brave Bird. We'll see if they shield this. If they shield this, then it's perfect, and they shield it. So now, we have the perfect scenario here. They throw, so they're dry on energy now. So we can bring in Deoxys, 1 shield, farm down all the way, and take next to no damage from the Psycho Cuts. Cresselia goes for Moonblast, no attack debuff, thankfully. And we leave with a Zap Cannon. What does the opponent bring in? They bring in Swampert. And you're thinking, Zap Cannon, that's resisted. Why are you? Oh my goodness. And it almost one-shots the Swampert with resisted damage. The opponent concedes the match. Hopping into the next match, we lead Pidgeot into Charizard. And the Charizard is running Wing Attack. It's not as common at rank 20, but it's alright. So, they go for a Dragon Claw bait. That's perfect. I don't have to shield anyway. So now we can go for a Feather Dance. Maybe they shield it, and they do. So this is another perfect scenario because we're up a shield, and we got the debuff. So we can let this Blast Burn go. It's not going to take us out. We can go for a Brave Bird here. Now, they can double shield and take Switch, and they do. And that's just perfect because now we can bring in Attack Deoxys, and we'll be able to take out the Charizard. They go for a Blast Burn, bit of a mistake, but it's alright. Because, like, the Dragon Claw would still take out Deoxys. And then they bring in Swampert. And, well, we've seen this. And Zap Cannon one-shots the Swampert. And they have Venusaur in the back. And Steelix just cleans this up. It's really easy for Steelix to take care of the Venusaur. So, they can go for Frenzy Plant. We shield that one because it's not debuffed yet. So that one's going to do the most damage. So now we go for Raking Swipe. They're debuff. So if they have another Frenzy Plant, it's not going to do as much damage. And we make it to a Breaking Swipe. I'm still throwing another Dragon Tail before, or a few more because it's better timing. And I let the opponent make it to another Frenzy Plant, but that's still not taking out my Steelix. And I go for an Earthquake. Earthquake will definitely take out the Venusaur. And we take that game. Hopping into the next match, we lead Pidgeot into Ampharos. Terrible lead. So we're just going to go for 1 Wing Attack and switch out, defer the Volt Switch onto Steelix, and the opponent's staying in, which is a bit of an odd play. We get an extra Dragon Tail in, which is nice, and the Ampharos goes for a Trailblaze. They then switch into Skeledirge, which is pretty okay for Steelix because my Steelix has Earthquake, but they shield the Earthquake, so now it's probably going to be a pretty easy matchup for Skeledirge. I decide to shield. I'm thinking I'm probably going to make another Earthquake, but I go for a Breaking Swipe here. I probably could have made it to an Earthquake, but I got a bit nervous. They don't shield the Breaking Swipe, and that's not going to be taking him out. So they go for another Crunch. Still not taking out Steelix. I overfarm, then I switch back into Pidgeot. I'm trying to save the Steelix because I know that Ampharos will just crush Attack Deoxys because anything will if Attack Deoxys doesn't have an advantage. So I can bring in my Pidgeot, and they go for another Crunch. They get 2 debuffs in a row, which is unfortunate. But then they don't even bring in the Ampharos. They bring in an Excadrill, which is an interesting choice. So we go for Feather Dance, and now we go for a Brave Bird. Brave Bird will still not take them out, but it will do a ton of damage. So now we can switch into Steelix, go ahead and go for the Breaking Swipe. This should get the shield, and now they farm us down. We bring in Pidgeot, force them to throw because if they get to back-to-back, even debuffed, they will still be taking out Attack Deoxys. So now they're probably going to be able to outpace us before we can get to a farm down. But then they switch into the Ampharos. I throw an alignment here, but it doesn't matter because the Psycho Boost will still take him out. And now this Excadrill is dry on energy, and Attack Deoxys wins CMP. And this Psycho Boost, even debuffed, will take out the Excadrill, and that is a good game. Hopping to the next match, we lead Pidgeot into Articuno. Pretty bad lead, so we switch into Steelix. Opponent goes for 2 Ice Shards and brings in Regirock. Now, Regirock can hit Steelix for super effective damage with Focus Blast, but Steelix can tank that. And Regirock is going to take heavy super effective damage from Earthquake as well. So we're going to go for the Earthquake. They no-shield it, and it does a ton of damage. Now, the opponent will outpace us to a move, but this is just a Stone Edge. Steelix tanks it. We tank it, and we go for a Breaking Swipe. This either gets a shield advantage or switch advantage. And it looks like the opponent's going to go down a shield and just take switch. We make it to a Breaking Swipe but die with the move, and we bring an attack deoxys. That one Poison Jab will take out the Regirock, but that Stone Edge will have to get a shield, and then the opponent brings in Cresselia. Now Cresselia, they unfortunately are going to outpace us before we can go to a Zap Cannon, and we have to shield that. But we can make it to a Zap Cannon, and this will either get a shield or completely annihilate the Cresselia. And it just deletes the Cresselia off the game. So now we can bring in Pidgeot, but this Articuno outpaces us. And if we gotten a Feather Dance off before they had gotten an Icy Wind, we might have been able to win. But because of that, they are going to be able to farm us down. And it doesn't matter how many times I debuff them. A move from them will just still take out Deoxys. Icy Wind, Ice Beam, Hurricane, Ancient Power, they all take out Deoxys. And we lose that game. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Pidgeot into Obstagoon. Now, the goal is to try and get shields and debuffs in this matchup, and probably even just soft lose it, so that we can bring in attack Deoxys and farm down. Now, the opponent goes for a Night Slash, no boost, and we go for a Feather Dance. The opponent shields it, probably thinking it's a Brave Bird, and we get the debuff and a shield, which is perfect. Now, they go for a Night Slash, not going to take us out. We just go for a Brave Bird. This Brave Bird's going to either guarantee a shield or switch, and we get the shield. Now, I switch into attack Deoxys. I'm predicting that they're not going to be wanting to switch out, because they're thinking that they can go for Night Slashes and get shields. So that's what they're going to do, stay in. But this actually is perfect for me because I can farm down. I don't care about losing both my shields. The opponent is going to end up bringing in a Scissor, and we can go for a Zap Cannon. This Zap Cannon is going to vanquish the Scissor, and then they have Giratina altered. It's a Dragon Breath Giratina altered as well, which is even better. I go for a catch. I fail the catch, but it doesn't matter. Steelix will still destroy Giratina altered. As you can see, that Shadow Sneak does nothing, and Breaking Swipe will reduce the damage that those Shadow Sneaks do even further. So now Steelix is going to be able to make it to another Breaking Swipe pretty easily. Shadow Sneak does nothing now. We can go for Breaking Swipe. Even if this doesn't KO, we can farm down. So one more Dragon Tail, we'll be taking out the Giratina, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Pidgeot into Swampert. Interesting lead. It's another one of those matchups where you try to soft lose it, because then attack Deoxys can farm down. Now they go for the Hydro Cannon straight away. I'm still not shielding this. Now I go for a Feather Dance. Even if they don't shield this, we get the debuff, which is perfect. And they don't shield it. But now they will have to go for 2 Hydro Cannons to take us out. So they're going to go for the first Hydro Cannon, but we will end up outpacing them to another one. This Brave Bird will either get a shield or take him out, so we get a shield, which is perfect. They still can't farm us down, though, so they're going to have to go for a Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon takes out Pidgeot, and then we bring in attack Deoxys. This is pretty good farm down range. We're going to have to give up both shields, though, because they have enough energy, which is unfortunate, but that's all right. That's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. So we give up the second shield, and we'll be able to take out the Swampert. The opponent waits their clock and brings in Giratina altered, and we're going for a Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon is resisted, but it still does like 3/4 of Giratina's health, which is insane. So the opponent's going to end up going for a Dragon Claw that does nothing, and then they switch into Grand Bull. This would be a very good matchup if we had one shield, but because we don't, they're just going to be able to go straight close combat, and that will do a ton of damage to Steelix. My Steelix is not optimized IVs, unfortunately, so close combat almost takes out Steelix. We go for a Breaking Swipe now, so this should probably get a shield. And then I try to snipe with Deoxys, but the Grand Bull lives on 1 HP. And it's a simultaneous KO, but because the Giratina was still alive in the back, we lose that game. Familiar leading the next match, Pidgeot into Obstagoon. This Obstagoon farms up to 6, though, so they can have an Obstruct here. And they do go for an Obstruct, so now their defense is buffed. Brave Bird's a lot less threatening, so they're actually not going to shield this Feather Dance, which is a bit unfortunate, but a second Brave Bird should still do a lot of damage, even if they buff their defense again. So this Brave Bird might still be able to get a shield. I missed the Excellent, but that doesn't matter because they end up shielding it anyway. Now they're going for a move. I shield this, I'm thinking I want to bank a move. So then they switch into Dragonite trying to snipe. But I can bring in Steelix and just destroy this Dragonite. They're going to make it to a superpower on CMP, but that's alright. Breaking Swipe will still not take out the Dragonite, but it'll put him into a perfect farm down range. It'll give me 2 Dragon Tails energy, which is perfect because the opponent does end up bringing in a Skeledirge, and those 2 extra Dragon Tails let me make it to an Earthquake. This Earthquake will do heavy damage or grab a shield. The Earthquake grabs a shield. We're about to get farmed down, so I bring in Pidgeot. I go for a Brave Bird. Unfortunately, throw in alignment, but it doesn't matter too much. Bring in Steelix, and they snipe with Obstagoon. They're actually probably going to be able to outpace us because they had an extra counter. But as you can see, they do end up going for an Obstruct. So now they are 5 off, and that lets me get to back-to-back Psycho Boosts. This first one wins CMP against the Obstagoon, and it's going to take him out. And the second Psycho Boost is going to win CMP against the Skeledirge, and that's going to take him out as well. And that is a good game. Anyways, into the next match, we lead Pidgeot into Togekiss. This is an interesting battle because we can go for a Brave Bird or a Feather Dance straight away. I go for the Brave Bird. I wait half a second, though, to make sure the Charm registers before I go for the Brave Bird. That lessens the damage. Then we switch into Steelix, and they bring in Charizard. This would be a good matchup, except for the fact that Breaking Swipe Steelix is just insanely powerful. So I can let this go. Even if it's a Blast Bird, which it is, it still doesn't put Steelix into the red, which is crazy. So now we can go for another Breaking Swipe, and if we want to, we can commit a shield and farm down. So I commit the shield, even if it's a Dragon Claw, they're not making another one, and we farm them down. So that's Steelix beating fire types in the even shields. They unfortunately do have the Togekiss, though, and Togekiss does wall Steelix, unfortunately, simply because of the moveset I'm running. But that's quite alright, because the Breaking Swipes will be able to debuff them enough. Then I bring in an Attack Deoxys, and I get a ton of Poison Jab damage in. And then they bring in Cresselia. Now, I can shield this, and do they respect the damage? Because Zap Cannon will one-shot them. They unfortunately do respect the damage, and we don't even get an attack debuff, which is insulting. So now, we can get taken out by the Grass Knot. Now, we can bring in Pidgeot. I probably should have waited my switch clock there, but that's alright. We're going to be tanking whatever move they throw. They throw a Moonblast, and then we have to make it to a Brave Bird plus another Brave Bird. And that doesn't really look possible. So we go for the Brave Bird, switch into Steelix immediately, trying to clear the debuff. But the opponent does not throw immediately. They go for an Ancient Power, and we lose that game. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Pidgeot into Venusaur. Amazing lead. So the opponent's going to be switching out into Charizard. And they can just bring in Steelix, which is such an odd thing. The fact that I can just bring in a Steel type into a Fire type. But Steelix is amazing, so it does well. We go for a Breaking Swipe. We get a shield because of the fact that I overfarmed. That might have hinted at the fact that I might have been running Crunch. They go for a Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw will not take out Steelix. Now I can go for another Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe will do some decent damage. Now, even if they go for another Dragon Claw, Steelix still tanks it. Steelix is an absolute beast. Steelix tanks it, and we go for another Breaking Swipe. Now, the opponent has to either give up both shields or give up Switch, and they just give up Switch. They then bring in the Venusaur, and I bring in Pidgeot. Then they bring in Shadow Swampert. I can go for a Feather Dance. I don't care if they shield or not. I just need the debuff. And now they go for a move. Since it's debuffed, I'm not shielding this. So now I'm going to keep farming up. And I'm going to shield this one because this would actually start doing some damage. So now I go for a Feather Dance. And this Feather Dance will get them 4 stages debuffed. And then I swap into Attack Deoxys. And as you can see, this Swampert is 4 stages debuffed, but Hydro Cannon still takes out Attack Deoxys. The thing is so glassy, I could probably recycle it for 10 cents. But, so, we go for the Feather Dance into the Venusaur. They no-shield it, but that attack debuff just seals their fate, and we win that game. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Pidgeot into Charizard. This is another one of those matchups where we try to soft lose it. And so, we're going to go for the Feather Dance. We lose CMP, but that's alright. Even if they go for a Blast Burn, Pidgeot tanks it. And it probably makes him even more likely to shield because it makes it look like I'm just going for a Brave Bird. So we get the shield, and they won't be able to farm us down now. So they have to go for a move. They go for a Dragon Claw. And Dragon Claw is going to take out Pidgeot. We can bring in Deoxys. Deoxys will be able to farm down completely. The opponent goes for a Blast Burn. Probably could have made it to a second Dragon Claw if they went for a Dragon Claw, but that's alright. Then the opponent brings in Cobalion. And do you think they know? I really don't think they know. Zap Cannon one-shots the Cobalion. They have Jellicent, though, so this game is certainly not over. We're going to have to shield the first Surf because it's going to be the one that does the most damage because we're going to be debuffing them after. But because of the fact that they're running Bubble, their fast move actually does some damage. But they actually shield that Breaking Swipe, so it looks like there is a chance. That Surf does not do enough damage to make it look like a second one will take us out. But with the Bubble damage, it just might. That Surf probably puts us into a range where a few more bubbles will take us out, so we have to go for an Earthquake. Earthquake does huge damage, and Steelix lives on like 1 HP, and we take that game. Hopping into a bonus battle, we lead Pidgeot into Togekiss. Now, we can go for a Brave Bird here, straight away, and the opponent probably going to call Feather Dance, and they do, and Brave Bird does huge damage. We just bring in Steelix, and the opponent stops attacking, so it looks like they just get destroyed by Steelix in the back. So I speed this up here because it takes a while, because they're completely lagged out. We bring in Attack Deoxys and farm down the Giratina. We go for a Zap Cannon into the Venusaur. Zap Cannon almost one-shots the Venusaur with resisted damage, which is insane. In conclusion, I love Attack Deoxys. It's one of my favorite Pokemon to run, even if it is a piece of paper. And another fun fact about Attack Deoxys is that a level 1 Attack Deoxys will win CMP over a level 50 Shuckle, which is quite funny in my opinion. Anyways, that's it for today, and I'll see you all in the next video.